But my experience is two things I take from Orania. Number one is that they're doing it for themselves. And that's the culture that we as black people need to learn fast and hard. They've got white domestic workers, they build their place. You look at Orania and jealous down. What is wrong with Orania for me is the racism thing. What is right is the fact that those people are building a city right in front of our eyes. Those people, I mean, you look at Orania, they have shares in their bank. They've got their own bank that they started, and this is a population of 3,000. Registered bank with the Reserve Bank. Every person banking in Orania has shares in the bank. You look at Orania, it's totally, completely litter-free. You look at Orania, there's nobody that's without a job. You look at Orania, they've got plans. They've built 2 private schools. They've built 1 technical college. And I mean, they've got a bigger demand for housing. So the supply is under the demand. So they got more demand than supply. And you have companies like SEAF. I was shocked to see them being there because the housing market just went up. Now, we as black people love this victim mentality. You want to be offended constantly. Now they get offended because Gayton McKenzie decided to go to Orania to go and see for themselves and talk about the good and the bad. That's
What's the crux of the fence from what you can see? What is the crux of the issue?
Why did you go to Orania? My issue is that as a political leader, I don't have the luxury to judge without knowing both sides.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the fact that Orania exists is an indictment on this current government.
Can I just say something on that existence
Sure.
that people don't know? Orania was bought for 1 million rands, 800 hectares, which is around 800 rugby fields. It was bought. Our government sold Orania, number one. Number two, Orania went to court to become a municipality, which basically went to court to be what that enclave that we think they are. Yeah. Our government settled with them out of court.
Hence I say the mere existence of anything like Orania to me is an indictment on the government of the day.
Yes.
But there is...
Let us not beat around the bush. Colored people has really been neglected in this country. First, they were not white enough. Now they're not black enough. And I'll show you examples of that. They take colored children out of schools in El Rado Park, Mitchell's Plain, and for those kids to make space for black kids. And when those kids leave school, colored people are number one when it comes to alcohol-fetal syndrome, number one when it comes to people not getting bursaries. So there is a problem that nobody wants to talk about. You ask yourself, why is it today colored people are not known as Africans? But in 1986, when colored people were invited to join the white people in parliament, the tricameral parliament, colored people said, for as long as our black brothers are not free and not part of this, we ain't want to join your thing. And colored people then went to the street. The next day, apartheid closed 500 colored schools. But now, during democracy, suddenly, the ANC comes and say colored people are not African. Now, the racism that nobody speaks about is about that. I am unapologetic when it comes to the fact that the time when colored people has no say in this country is over. The time when colored people are being treated like they are nothing. CVs are being thrown in the bin. Boards don't consist of colored people. That's over. And lastly, with the foreigners and the racism that we stand only for colored people. The deputy president of this party, Kenny Kunene, is black. The leader of all the youth in South Africa, Bongi Nkosi Kanyisile, is black. Our deputy president of the Women's League is black. Now when people come with, let's look at the leadership of PA compared to the leadership of the DA and the leadership of the ANC. And as far as the foreigners are concerned, Tshidi, listen to me and listen to me clear.
Please note that I get attacked very often on social media because I am a Africa for all kind of character.
Africa for
so
all. No, I know that. I've seen your stance. Let me tell you something today. The day after 2024, no government in this country will be formed without our votes. That one I can tell you as a fact. Just in Joburg, nobody can move without us. We will demand as our the second thing that we will demand, we will demand that all illegal foreigners must be mass deported. We will if you want to be, now power is a strange thing. People might now say McKenzie is a xenophobe, but when he has to choose, do I give in to the demands of McKenzie and the PA? and not become president? Or do I give in to the demands and still become? No, I know the lure of power. They will listen to us. Foreigners must go home. Illegal foreigners must go home. And foreigners that are here must come with a special skill. You cannot come here from Zimbabwe and be a teacher here while we have teachers sitting in El Rado Park, while we have teachers sitting in Soweto and Alexandra. They have taken over the service industry. I live in the Western Cape. I go to Cape Town. You go to Cape Town. There's not one restaurant where you can find African and colored or Indian people serving you. They've taken over the whole industry. They must go home. The sooner they go home, the better. There's no one Africa for all here. There's borders here. They must go home. I committed crimes at the age of 18. I was still a child, man. So I grew up in jail. I literally grew up in jail. My first freedom was at the age of 30. I came out of jail. I went to 1,023 schools across the country to warn children about the dangers of drugs and crime.
Including my colleagues and the league.
Yes. I then went further.
And boys, and against boys.
Yes.
There are lots of people in the studio, yes.
Continue. Yeah. I then went further. I then started donating millions to charity and I help people. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is if the Sunday Times editor last week wrote a whole op-ed about me not being fit because of my past. Musi Mamani went the other day with a tweet.
Yeah, so you clap back about his Jesus,
Yeah. Now, my question is, I only have one question for South Africa. Only one. Maybe you can answer it, you're smart. How, if I, that has spoken to so many school children about the dangers of crime, if I that has exposed corruption in jail, if I that is giving millions to charity, if I that gives more jobs to ex-prisoners than anybody on the African continent, if I am not acceptable to some people, which of the 160,000 currently in jail, which of the million that come from jail will ever be acceptable? This is not about me. I will never look for a job in my life ever again, as a fact. But what about the guy that wants to change his life? This is long past being about Gayton McKenzie.
Yeah.
People need to understand. I've served my time. I've paid for my crimes. I've repented. And I have a right to live my life. I don't ask you to... I pay tax. So I'm saying that people really need to have this conversation. It's a very important conversation. That you gotta give... Otherwise, go to jail and shoot all those prisoners in jail. Call all the ex-prisoners in a stadium and blow up the stadium. Because what chance do those guys have to change their lives and to think? I go to Germany. I'm getting hero worshipped in the prisons there and the opposition. The UK called me to speak to all the prosecutors. I go to Russia, to people that speak at big events, and they're like, this is an inspirational, inspiring story. I come here, they call me an ex-convict mayor.
I don't have answers, but I do think there's a big conversation the country must have around...